not been the best time for them,
Mm-hmm.
but there's always time for trying to get more people registered and out to vote. And we are reminded that the youth can vote this um, midterm election if they're 17, and they'll be 18 in November, beginning of November. And so I'm excited to know if the youth will come out to vote and if they will continue. Sometimes the first time that people are out, it's not the dream, right? I know I
Mm-hmm.
was well past 18 before I actually voted, although I did register on time. I just didn't see candidates that I wanted to elect.
Well, Kathleen, let me back up a little bit. I want you to introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Kathleen Witcher. I've been here in this town for almost 5 decades. I was around with the start of the Irvington NAACP in 1980 when we used to go to the Berkeley Terrace Shelter House, the Gibsons, the Fullers, um, the families that live mainly on Marshall Street, Dave Gregory. I used to go with Beasley to the meetings, and we decided that, African Americans should have some say in making decisions in the town where we were now new homeowners and people who rented. I'm a teacher, I'm retired. I taught math, I taught English. A pleasure to be at my high school alma mater, Malcolm X Shabazz. I'm still active and interested in education, particularly. I'm on several boards. One of them is Edna Man Women's Prison. That's the only women's prison in the state, and we very proudly struck a landmark. So we have now a law in place where women who have been victims that caused them to be adjudicated and justice impacted can apply for reduced sentencing. We're proud of that. We're also proud of the Protection Act for women. And so, I do a lot in my retired days that I didn't get a chance to do when I worked, when I was teaching. I'm a grandparent and love that. And I'm enjoying a few days when I don't get paid, I volunteer. Now I can't hear you. Your mic is off.
I put myself on mute. All right. So go ahead when you get a chance. Find it. All right. Thanks. Bye. I got it. Yeah, yeah. I was just on the phone with talking to Chase, telling Chase to. Cause I sent him a
Oh,
link too, telling Chase to open the link and when he gets a time and join in. So hopefully maybe he'll join in. I talked to uh Mayor. I talked to Mayor Irvington Mayor Tony Voss, aka MTV, right? Mayor Tony Voss, MTV.
right.
Yes, yesterday because I sent him the same links that I sent you. So I sent links out to a few people that I regard in Irvington, Kathy, um, to be a part of this, to participate in this, what we're doing today, in case they want to. I just admitted someone. Who is that someone?
Well, I think that most of the people here are either inactive or they're new
Mm-hmm.
to the town. And so I think it would be a welcoming idea to bring the people together at some points where they can just talk about what the town offers. What are the assets for living in Irvington? And why should we remain in Irvington, which has a beautiful housing stock? We're not densely populated as some of the places like Newark is going to be. But we don't offer the same kinds of things. And I was talking to some people last week. I pretty much get into culture things,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm jealous because in Vauxhall they have so many weekly programs for adults and for children at the Vauxhall Library. I think they only have one library, but their population is much less, and they are able to do things with African American history, Puerto Rican history. They're able to look at arts. They're able to, and tonight, if I wasn't on here, I'd be in their food and health and nutrition class, right?
Mhm.
So I look at those things and I wonder if we could bring them to Irvington, because when I first came, they had a garden club and it was pretty active. They had several things going on. The schools had distributive education awards every year. And down on University, Myrtle Avenue and University, men used to line up for the adult classes in labor skills so they
I
could
don't
go in for HVAC,
I don't want to
Red
interrupt you,
Seal.
Kathleen, but
Mhm.
I want to do two things. First, I want to announce that retired police chief Michael Chase, who will always be chief to me, has joined the Zoom. Hello,
All
chief.
right, very good.
So
Thank you.
can you
Hello.
see him? Can you
Hello.
speak? And for those who don't know,
There
look at
you
you with
are.
the, with the gray hair. So old soldiers don't die, chief. But what happens to the, I'm gonna say old cops. But what's up, man? What's up with that gray hair, man?
It's a blessing.
You earned it.
And I'm recording this right now, chief. But I'm glad you joined in because what we're holding here today, and for full disclosure, I believe, I don't know, I don't think I paid my dues, so maybe I'm not a member of the Irvington NAACP anymore. But I was a full
Still a
due
member.
paid member of the Irvington NAACP as later, I guess, was a year or two ago. So I know that I'm behind. But so I'm not say I have skin in the game, but I became a member because Kathleen Witcher, who's the president, who's sitting here now, she needed some members and she needed some assistance, and I wanted to help Kathleen, and so I joined up because I normally don't join. You know me, Chief. I'm not a joiner, and so I signed on because I wanted to help Kathleen out. And I say that to everybody who may watch this later on because we are recording. But the purpose of this meeting today, Chief, was two things. Kathleen wants to hold candidates forums for the ongoing mayoral race, 2026 mayoral race in Irvington, the Board of Education election that's coming up in Irvington, and also the at-large city council election that's going on right now at the same time in Irvington. And as you know, in this era, in the past, it's been a challenge before, but in this current era, with the consolidation and blocks of voters and people knowing they have to think, it's kind of hard to get people to come out to participate in the forums because they feel like, well, why should I inform? I got my votes. I don't need to go out there and talk to anybody else. That's my interpretation of it. I don't know how everybody else sees it, but that's how I view it. So she wants to organize that. So, and I floated that idea out to a couple of the candidates, both mayoral candidates, uh, about having a meeting and also having the chief involved. And I want to say, Kathleen, I'm smiling. If you can see, I got a big cheesy grin. I've been trying to get Chase on here forever, right? But he don't want to come on because he's so diplomatic, right?
Well, you can have the floor.
I,
He
and listen,
certainly
and
was
so
serving when I was in the first part of the NAACP. We certainly went to the town hall so he can get his promotion.
Amen. Greatly appreciated. I became a life member after that.
and that's what I'm talking. See, you ain't got to worry about about me being in dudes like me, a laggard like me, right? But what it is, Chief, and with Kathleen is, and I was telling Mayor Voss about this last night because he did say, what's the point, right? Because and I was saying, I personally, I think of myself, I am a journalist, right? And I want to raise the level of public discourse. But the only way to have public discourse in any kind of public or municipal place is to actually have people talking, right? To be talking. Discourse means
Yeah.
talking, I believe, right? And so if people don't come out and talk and share ideas, then you can't have any discourse. And so for any candidate running who doesn't want to talk about why they're running, who they're running, what they want to do, whether or not they're running against any opposition or not, that does not raise the level of discourse, in my personal opinion. And I also explain, Chief, a lot of these things I've talked to you about personally, because you and I have talked over the years. And and he gave me the worst compliment in the world, Kathleen. He told me talking to me was like talking to a cop. I got offended.
Well, listen,
Right?
I don't know what Chase gonna say, but I'm gonna say this: if you are in your home and you don't discuss issues there, I guess that is a precursor, to what we have now, and it's unfortunate. But I also think, and this is my opinion, but I think it's shared with a lot of my friends, that people aren't comfortable because of the climate and politics that we have today on the federal level. You used to think the president of the United States, wow, that's something. And you used to try to mimic. I remember a lot of people used to wear the clothing style or whatever the first lady had on. They would wear the pillbox with
Mm-hmm.
Jackie Kennedy, and they would mimic many of the first ladies of the country. But today we don't have that. We have maybe like the opposite, and I think it's affected discourse through many channels. I was reading earlier an article in the Times about how the federal unions of agencies for the government had been under executive order to not even collect their union dues. Some younger guys created a fun union, FUN union, to counterbalance that. And since that time, even one of the Republican senators and the governor in Utah overturned that executive order. But, it shouldn't have ever happened. I mean, come on.
All right.
So I think when you see those things on that level, it certainly does trickle down, and it's
What is it?
unfortunate.
All right.
I
What
will
is it?
give you,
Go ahead,
if
Chief.
I will, and reply or at least remark to what you said about people saying, "What's the point?" I think that any opportunity that the public, the constituency, gets to hear from their elected official what their vision or platform, or to even engage to find out what can be or what will be if they are continued or if they are elected, is a benefit to the citizenry. Now, it's a benefit to the people running for office, but it is definitely a benefit. I wouldn't go to a car dealership if I couldn't look at the car.
Facts. Right.
Right.
Okay.
And
Now, I will say that yes, the environment has changed. Politics has become more acrimonious or venomous, but the basis of public service is the public. And if you're not going to interact or give the public an opportunity to see what they get, then we do them there's a disservice in that.
yes,
That's my perception.
yes, because it's like, what are
You
you
know,
running?
I
What are you running?
listen. Miss Whitner just said about federal government. One of the biggest hue and cries that I hear relative to President Trump is that he is not transparent. Okay, transparency. What I like about what you see is what you see.
Facts.
Uh, there is a great deal of modernization in politics or campaigning. It's called presentation.
Yep.
It's like the used car salesman, not the new car salesman, the used car salesman. The car hums, but it don't get in gear. You understand? You won't know that. I think people have gotten apathetic. The country has gotten apathetic. And in the last year, with the No Kings March, I am heartened by the fact that people are trying to reclaim that plurimis unum, we the people, and the those who want to be elected and those who have been elected need to recognize that the people still have the power. They have to wake up to that power.
All right, listen. I'm not gonna dispute either one of you guys, but I want to bring the national talk back down to the local level, right? Because I think it's all about timely and relevant. I disagree with what you guys said on a couple of hints, though. But in terms of the current mood, to me, politics has always been like this, right? It's just maybe the tone is different because the relax. But I was just watching a biography on Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr, and how Thomas Jefferson hated Alexander Hamilton, right? And they all the stuff that they were doing. So it's always been acrimonious. It's always been antithetical. But what I want to talk about is two things, and that's why I'm glad that you're on here, Chief, and I'm glad that you're here too, Kathleen, because once again, I always told MTV and anybody else in town the reason why because and I used to cover, full disclosure, I am a journalist. I used to cover Irvington as well as Orange, East Orange, Hillside, Elizabeth, Newark, a few other places for Worrell Media, right? Which is Worrell Media newspapers. But I used to cover that. But you always hear about how things are different and how everything is not connected. But in my experience, it is all very interconnected, right? And so what I like to have you guys, and what I was saying about that is that I like the Irvington NAACP specifically because of who was in charge of it, which was Kathleen Witcher. And I told Tony Mayorvoss this even before he became mayor, and I told everybody this, and I've told the chief this too, that the Irvington NAACP under Kathleen Witcher, that I have seen it, this is why I joined, has done what they're supposed to be doing, is what I think the NAACP was supposed to do, meaning be involved in the community, increase public discourse, be out there advocating, doing things that promote freedom, justice, equality for everyone, not just every American, but everyone. And to me, Kathleen Witcher has always been doing that. I don't know about, the past before I got to Irvington, which I guess was 2000, 2001. But, excuse me. But you've always done the same thing. And that's why I'm glad you're here today, Kathleen. That's why I'm on board with what you're trying to do with this current election, especially after hearing from one of the mayoral candidates that the last time he tried to run for mayor, he couldn't get any kind of public discourse because they just wouldn't do it, which I think defeats the purpose. But then let me keep going with my little monologue real fast. And I'm glad that you, Chief Chase, are here because I've told you before, I want you to introduce yourself to whoever is going to watch this and tell them about your background, your pedigree, because I think that you are a great natural resource. And I call you an untapped resource. I say this all the time, of knowledge on law enforcement, public service, the law. I think you should have been a lawyer personally, right? You still can, right? And that all the knowledge and stuff that you have, the practical wisdom and also management and leadership in the Black community, which I think is at a premium. We need good Black leaders. That's why I'm about public discourse. We need good leadership. America needs good leadership. So when people talking about Trump, they're really commenting on what they think is a flaw or lack of leadership from him and then everybody else down in the government. But I particularly am interested in good Black leaders. And so you being a Black man and having been in law enforcement and risen to the heights, which is police director and then also police chief of the, from the, what's the name? I want you to tell people about that a little bit. And then also, in this moment, in this interview, I know that you cannot comment because it's not like a gag order and it's not like no puffy P. Diddy bad boy stuff, when he got people signing non-disclosure agreements. But you recently came to a settlement of a protracted, extended legal issue. I'm trying to pick my words correct because I know the chief is a stickler for language, right? And legally, right? And legalese. And I would like you to discuss, say what you can say about that. And that's also why I think public discourse is important, because we've talked over the years while you were going through this, because it took you years to settle something to me that was just some petty, alliteration, petty police politics, 3 Ps, in my opinion, right? And also a failure of leadership at the local level, which in my opinion, as I told you before, Chief, and I think I told Kathleen too, led to whatever that protracted struggle that you had to go through. But so real quick, introduce yourself for anybody who doesn't know you. Because I mean, you don't have the uniform or in the suit. You're very dressed down. I personally am impressed that you're dressed down because you're to me like Michael Jordan. They always say that Michael Jordan always comes out dressed to the nines in the suit and the this is this because he never knows who's going to see him for the first time, right? And when they see him, he wants them to see Jordan. And so to me, that's how the chief always is. He's Chief Chase. So when he's out there public, he's always Chief Chase. Yet you're still Chief Chase to me because the aura to me is what it is. But you ain't got no suit on, Chief. What's up, man? We don't rate a suit. Why you don't want to come? I'm just kidding.
I thank you, but you call me ad hoc, so I'm answering ad hoc. But I also will say that in the many times that you're addressing, I thank you for the compliment. I felt privileged, blessed to work in Irvington from 1975 to 2016 in the police department. I felt that because it is a blessing, I respect the blessing. When I go to church, I wear a suit. I didn't say, the Lord don't say you have to wear a suit. He said, come as you are. But you know what? I recognize if I went to see the president, I'd wear a suit. If I went to see someone, I try to dress accordingly. When I represented the people, I wanted to be in my uniform and suit because I represent them. It's not a stickler about trying to look better. It's trying to be professional and show the respect of the office you hold. In the day and age where people decry getting dressed, you know what? I remember when we decried people having their pants hanging below their underwear. You okay? So I'm not one to get caught up with fads of fashion, but I do believe, and I've always been taught that you have only one chance to make a first impression, and you are responsible to keep that impression consistent. So I dress accordingly based on as an administrator in a township or as a police officer where young people are looking up. I want to give them an image that they can emulate. Being black and being first isn't just about me. It's about letting other people know that, hey, if there's a first, it could be a second, a third, a fourth. You too can be or better. That's what it's about. And that's what I always wanted to present, profess, and try to encourage others to feel that they too. I was raised on welfare. I came from city of Linden. I've been in Irvington for a good 30 something years, but it's a blessing. And when I was on welfare, I used to hear stories. People on welfare don't want to do nothing, can't do nothing. I have worked more than 40 something years consistently and 41 and a half on one job. That's a blessing, but it just shows you define who you are. You can project who you will be, and you can obtain when you strive to do it.
You know what's interesting about that, Chief? I agree. And also, Kathleen, I'm glad he mentioned about the time frame 1975 2020. What did you say? 2024, 2026?
16.
2016. Kathleen, because when you were speaking before, Kathleen, I was going to ask you to go back and backtrack when you said before, back in the day, what time frame are you talking about when you were involved, when you had the public discourse and then people were trying to get involved? What years was that? And then also, how long have you been in town?
Like forever. Uh, uh, really, I will track back to when I was 7 years old because my mother and father didn't hire a babysitter for my brother and I. So we went to the meetings with them. And you had to be quiet and listen. And you learn by listening. And so whether it was the school board meeting or what they call the Central Ward Community Council, my brother and I were always there, and that's how we learned. But then as
That's
you,
in Newark, right? That's not Irvington, right? That
yeah,
was Newark.
um, Mr. Feldman, I think was his name, organized under the North Social Agencies Council, the youth. And so they had representatives from all over the city. I didn't have a word to say because I was like timid. I want to listen. So I learned from the youth how to address issues that concern the youth of North in the 1960s. And then from there, I followed my mother in the PTA. When I got married, I started my family. My mother had been going through, and father also, they were in the PTA. So I figured that I better follow them in the PTA with my children. And I just kept going that way. It was in 1980 that Mr. Beasley said we should join the NAACP. So I have been reluctant. Nobody wanted to join the NAACP. Nobody felt anything good about the NAACP or what it was doing because you have to tell your own story. You have to have the wherewithal to be able to project to the public, to the people who live in the area, to the people around state to state, that there is an NAACP working. If not, you wouldn't get to the Emmett Till Act today. If not, you wouldn't get to the John Lewis Act. If not, you wouldn't get to the Voting Act, Rights Act. You see, all those things came through by way of the NAACP. It was in 1968. I was working in Chicago. I saw Fannie Lou Hamer. I didn't see her at the convention. I saw her after she come out the convention. I was able to see several, the Hosea Williams, the breadbasket man. I was able to see Julian Bond, and all those people inspired me. So when you get your turn, you use it that way. I didn't volunteer to come in the NAACP. Reverend Rutherford and them called me to come when my second term on the school board had expired. So I went on to the NAACP to see what I could help to do there. Because my idea was when you get in a group, when you get in an organization, you don't sit and wait for something to happen. You go looking for something that you could change, that you can address. And so that was my road to being involved. It actually taken up maybe 3/4 of my life today. And I'm proud to say nobody had to give me no accolades. I just felt like you need to get something done. And so where I saw anything going on, I just try to speak up, not be afraid, fear only God, keep it moving.
Listen, I personally and also professionally as a journalist covering town and being in, and as a citizen, right? I appreciate that ethos you're talking about and why you did the things that you did and do the things that you do, continue to do the things that you do. Because I think that that's what's needed, right? Because a lot of times people don't know, but it's because, and especially in this age where information is everywhere, you don't know because you probably don't want to know, or it's inconvenient for you to know. Because if you knew, you should, or you might have to adjust your opinions or perspective, which people don't want to do, especially when they like how they think it is. But also, I'm glad you mentioned that you were on the board of education in Irvington. Yes, what years were
Yes.
that, Kathleen? Because right
I
now we're in
was
an
elected.
election. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was elected when when we returned to elected school board, January 30th, 1996. And I spent 1 year. And then I got kicked out because I would not adhere to what they were trying to do. The issue when I came in was about the school repairs replacement before Abbott and the School Construction Corporation and the School Development Authority. So before the state was going to do anything about old buildings, I saw that there was a new structure at Union Avenue that wasn't being completed yet. And I went down to Trenton, although by myself, to see what could happen. And I asked them beforehand in writing, I'm a school board member. I want to know why the state is holding up the project. And that got me in big trouble. But at any rate, they told me, well, we don't want to hurt the children, but they have overridden the amount allotted to the project by $7 million. There was a limit on how much could be spent, and I think at that time the governor was Christy Whitman. So they stopped the project. And that was the right thing to do because that was the law. But they explained it to me, and I felt very terrible. Eventually, Union Avenue would open up. The issue then had to be, well, who was going to buy the seats and the desks to go inside the building so the youth would have a full new facility. And unfortunately, we're still at 17 plus $1 million that the town gives to the school budget. That's going on very, very long. It's
I want
going
to
on
interrupt
more
you.
than 40 years.
I want to interrupt
And
you right
they
there
give
because
more.
I spoke the same thing to MTV, to the mayor yesterday, because I'm not putting him on blast, and I don't talk behind anybody's back, as both of you guys know. So I'm just telling you guys what I told him, in terms, because he was saying, there's nobody running against the current slate of Board of Education candidates. They don't have any opposition. There's no official opposition, so they're running unopposed. And so, the question becomes, well, what do we need a forum for if they're running unopposed? And I said, you should have a forum anyway, because once again, it's public discourse, but then also because there are issues that should be raised. Because give people a chance to talk to these guys. They're going to be coming in, even if they're running, especially if they're running unopposed, they're going to be running stuff. So what needs to be done? What are issues that are facing the district? And in this recent climate, these last few months, I guess maybe the last year, since 2025, I've been hearing all these Jersey towns talking about what you just mentioned, Kathleen. Oh, we run out of money. We don't have any money for our budgets. We don't have enough money for the schools. And I'm talking a suburban town like Tom's River and these other places that in my and you can correct me, Chief. They're not, if they're not affluent, there's middle class suburban towns. How with tax bases, right? And so they're talking about we don't have any money for the schools, or Montclair talking about we're missing money because the BA spent money that wasn't approved. Really? And so I'm sitting here thinking that's, you talk about fake news based on how the public school process works, and this is where elections are important, even if nobody's running. Because whenever I hear these towns talking about they're running out of money, that's telling me that their voters are not passing or voting to approve the municipal tax levy for the schools. So they're saying, so if the school district says we need more money, you get some from the state, but then you get matching funds, I guess, from your tax base, right? From the taxpayers in town. And in every town that I've covered, Hillside, Elizabeth, it's always been a push and pull between the senior citizens and the younger people. Because if I'm a senior and I'm in town, I'm on fixed income, I haven't paid, all my kids is grown. What do I care about the schools with these other kids that are coming in here now and their parents? You going to charge me more to educate these kids? And because the senior citizens are the ones who vote regularly, they vote those budgets down. And so when that budget gets voted down, then those districts have to, because they can't raise the funds, they have to start making cuts and stuff. So whenever I'm seeing these towns in New Jersey talk about we don't got enough money, that's telling me it's a taxpayer revolt, right? That they can't pass their budget. Am I interpreting that wrong, Kathleen?
No, because I'm working the state PTA, and we got an emergency call. Something is going on in Montclair, and the person's name, who was the agitator, was Mr. Herron. And I kept saying, like, Herron, I think I know that name. Well, I know a friend had that last name, but she's passed. And then I said, oh, Herron, I don't know. So I asked someone else I'm familiar with, and she said, oh, you remember him. Well, he worked in the NAACP in the Montclair branch, and he was an advocate. But we're senior citizens, and of course, at this time, with Medicare up, food up, gas up, everything up, right? You're pinching where you used to have a comfort zone in your retirement, and you're saying, well, I can't take another dollar off. So, what we look at in Montclair is also that Montclair was not like Irvington, Newark, and many other places. Montclair was always raising money for capital improvement. They weren't waiting for the state or the development authority to come in and do, new nutrition classes and all renovations and capital improvements. They weren't looking for people to come in and do the new athletic field and all those things that cost thousands of dollars, millions in some cases. So the people in Montclair were paying high taxes anyway. And this just past March, the emergency call was in because the PTA wanted to push to pass the bond issue.
I want to interrupt you, Kathleen, because that to me has always been the issue between the urban and suburban districts. Because people talk about when and in terms of black communities and non-black communities, they say, oh, the white kids in the suburbs, they get that because their parents are willing to pay that extra money for it. In towns like Montclair, they are tax based, and in my mind and what I've told is you always hear that, oh, they're willing to invest in their kids, so they'll spend extra for their kids. Go ahead,
Chris.
Yes,
you know, all that has some validity in reality, but you also have to understand each community has a different constituency.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You go to a constituency where you have a lot of professionals who making in the hundreds of $1,000s and have 800 million plus home. The tax base is funded. You go with a place where you have middle income or lower income people, you have a less of a tax base. Let's also deal with the fact that when you have rental properties, older rental properties such as Irvington, many of them may not be. Well, you have owners who are really hand to mouth surviving from income and paying these bills. You have to be aware if your tax rate goes up high enough, you sort of create a negative on your housing stock, because if I'm paying the money for taxes and I'm really tight with my money and I'm not making that much money, I got to choose between maintaining my property or keeping my property. I pay my taxes, I keep my property. I maintain my property, they take it away. I'm not saying the financial quotient is very important when we talk about communities. Livingston, which is a very high income community, is having a problem with their budget in the Board of Ed. They have shortfall of several, but different things cost that. They have a lot of students going out of district and they have several $1,000,000 they're behind. You cannot, if you're going, you got to compare an orange to an orange, not an orange to a pineapple.
Well, no, Chief, I agree with you 100%. But what I'm saying is, but that's I'm talking about the hyperbole, that's always around those kind of conversations about funding. Because what you're talking about is what I'm talking about. This is bare funding, and this is what I've learned being a journalist covering towns is the average person, American, taxpaying, hardworking, whatever, they don't really understand how their government works or how it's funded. They don't understand a whole lot of things. Because
in New Jersey, they said they had a school funding formula. And it used to be a mathematical formula, and it factored in, the poverty level on children in a district. But Sweeney came in and before they ditched him, and he said, "Oh, we're gonna have a formula," but he really meant we're gonna try to give our friends who didn't get a tax break. We're going to try to make up for that over the years, right? Because Abbott versus Burke was the law that allowed for extra supplemental programs in the schools, more security guards and so forth and so on, right? So Abbott was killed in 2008. I have another story about that, but at any rate, when Tom's River and those got money, remember that we have more than 600 towns and cities, and most of them had at least one school. So you were never going to level it off if you didn't use a mathematical formula. But they didn't get there yet, and I doubt they will, because now the deficit for the state is deeper, not just for the schools, but for everything else. So you have a problem.
See, the irony of that goes back to what Chief Chase just said. And once again, I'm talking about hyperbole and people talking about things or whatever that's not based in facts. But the irony you're talking about New Jersey as a state having these funding issues. To me, that's got to be a tax collection issue, because in my view and vision of New Jersey is there's more millionaires and multimillionaires in New Jersey per capita than
Did
probably
you
than
look at
maybe.
the median income?
No, I'm talking about just
Well, yeah,
rich
but
people.
look at the median income. It's like 99,000. So,
Well, no, but I'm talking about, we talking about 1%. We talking about the affluent communities, and that's this. I'm saying that per capita, there's probably more millionaires and multimillionaires. I'm not going to say millionaires in this current time, but multi
oh yeah,
people
sure.
in New Jersey. So if you've got people with that kind of income and income stream, Chief, in
Hmm.
New Jersey, why you having problems collecting taxes, right? Why
It's
you
where
having
they
funding
live,
issues?
Chris. Excuse me for saying it. You know, you say a problem with taxes. Every municipality or government entity has a quotient they check, and their tax collection capability, how much they're actually collecting, not what they assess. You can assess anything you want. It's what you collect that you
But
get
isn't
to
that an
say.
enforcement thing, though, Chief? You in law
Oh,
enforcement, so
enforcement. See, that's making it more simplistic. If you mean enforcement is you didn't pay your taxes, I'm going to put a lien on your house. Now I'm in the real estate business.
well, no, listen.
Government shouldn't be in the real estate business.
The irony is, I was just
That
on Instagram today, what you were just talking about, right? And the other irony is, I sent the link to this meeting to Dwight Saunders, who used to do the code enforcement in East Orange and other places. And when he started cracking down on East Orange under Taylor, they started generating some revenue on those plans. But then, yes, I guess in Newark, and Kathleen, you might speak to this because I know you're a Ras Baraka supporter and also still very involved in Newark, even though you live and reside in Irvington. Uh, he was there's a clip of an Instagram of his State of the City address, and he's talking about the top 5 delinquent property owners who haven't been paying their taxes in the city of Newark, and that he's targeting them. And so to me, this is what I'm saying. You got all these developers making all this money on these multi-million dollars that's in whatever it is. You got to go and enforce the law, Chief. Am I right? Is that what the cops is
oh,
for?
you sir, you must enforce the law all the time. You should. Now,
Uh-huh.
but let us deal with that. Collection rates vary, and who you collecting from. It depends on who owes you the money. Now, those that are affluent, I think that's easy enough to collect from. I mean, come on. But you mentioned East Orange. If you looked at East Orange, do you see how many new multi uh, uh multi units that they're building? If
Yes.
you go Harrison, in the last 10 years, they done put up some huge complex. There's some great ratables in there. There's a lot of money in there. Now,
No,
Yeah.
but
I
they've all
remember
got tax breaks to do
if
that.
you would, sir, guess what? If I get a tax break on the beginning and get a tax largesse on the other end, it's called chess. Sometimes you play chess, brother. Uh,
Well,
you also have to remember, Irvington experienced a resurgence of building when Wayne Bradley did a urban development plan and was able to solicit or cajole people to invest in to build new housing stock. East
mhm.
Orange has been experiencing that greatly, and you've seen these massive apartment complexes.
Yeah.
So that's not being replicated in Irvington. There is not the land that I could see that could take place. So, like again, we got apples and oranges or pineapples, So
I
we
hear
got
what
to
you're
be
saying,
fair.
Well,
Chief.
even the spaces that are available, nobody's taking them because you have to have all the other kinds of resources. Period. That people need. If you're going to do housing, you got to have schools. If you're going to do housing, you have to have stores. If you got to do housing, you have to have employment. And those things, without a creative plan, not going to happen.
Well, see,
Because
Kathleen,
you
let me
got
interrupt you.
vacant space on Springfield Avenue not being taken.
Kathleen, everything you just said is what Chief just referenced when we talked about Wayne Bradley, the former business administrator
Yeah.
under Mayor Wayne Swift. What's going on, Mike Spruill? I'm going to introduce you in a second. Uh, because there was a plan, and also over there in the East Ward where there was the whole, because that was part of the school construction corporation you mentioned, when the plan for Wayne Smith and Wayne Bradley was to buy up that land, and then bought that land, knocked down the bad stuff, build housing, build a new school. Everything you're talking about, that was part of the plan. But then the economy went bad, right? 2003 or 2008, the economy went bad and it derailed the plan. When I interviewed Mayor Smith, and I asked him about that, and their whole he got derailed. Their whole plan got derailed because one, the school, I think Irvington moved. They dragged their feet too slowly because the school construction corporation ran out of money, and then also the economy went bad with the housing thing went down. So that was derailed, but it was the right idea because everything you're talking about, the building in Harrison, that's what Wayne Bradley and Wayne Smith were doing. But then, like I said, the economy went down. But listen, right now, Mike Spruill, unmute yourself. I know Kathleen probably knows Mike. Chief, you may not know Mike.
Give me a second. Give me a second. I have to come back. I have to answer more pressing calls.
All right.
All right, go ahead. And but Mike Spruill, you're the average man. Like I said, Kathleen is the president of the Irvington NAACP. Chief Chase, he a cop, right? You can't never trust them cops. He's law enforcement. He's representing the man, and this in the system, right? In this particular meeting. But you, Mike Spruill, you are a homeowner in Irvington, also a community activist, and we talk about having skin in the game. They always talk about how renters. There's a difference between renters and owners. Whereas renters, they just hear the rent and they don't care about the property. Whereas you're a homeowner, you got a vested interest in that community and in that whatever. So Mike Spruill, really quick, introduce yourself. Who are you? Where you live? Why you on this feed? Sitting there in the chair with them glasses on. You gotta unmute yourself. Unmute yourself. You can't hear me. I can't hear you. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. You gotta unmute. See? Hey, look, you gotta unmute.
Come on, Spruill.
We can't.
Spruill walked around with us talking about sinkhole, talking about the flooding on the street where he had his house.
Yeah, if he can unmute himself, then he can talk about all that. Look at the chat, Mike Spruill.
Jackie Patterson, National NAACP, the first Environmental and Climate Justice Director.
Mm-hmm. Oh no! Listen, since Mike Spruill, I'm going to say Mike is having technical difficulties because I can't hear him, and I don't know because he seems like he's got stuff on mute, and maybe he can't unmute. But once again, I covered Irvington. I know Mike Spruill as a homeowner. He has a homeowner over there in the Eastwood, I believe, coming up off of by the Garden State Parkway, where the housing there had been built, I guess, post-war on the incline of a hill, and the foundations were having problems, and they had flooding whenever it rained hard because when they built it, there were structural issues that were never really addressed. And so then him as a homeowner, when he came to town,
there you go.
Structural issues. There you go now. There you go. And I said, unmute yourself, man.
All right.
Go ahead, Mike Spruill. Introduce yourself. Who are you?
Resident of the North Ward over here, and I work with President Witcher for years over at the NAACP, and in this environmental injustice that we were going through over here. So I was forced to get involved. I was thrown in the game, put skin in the game, but so I'm just happy to see everybody, Miss Witcher, Christopher, Chief, what's going on?
Bless.
Yeah, I just wanted to come on and hear the candidates talk, but I don't see no candidates.
Well, listen, thank you for segueing to that. Kathleen is laughing, but listen, and because I told Kathleen, I don't know if I sent you or the I sent her, but I approach everything the way that I approach journalism. And as a journalist, my thing is I am going to write a story, right?
Yeah.
Now, if I give you the chance to come and comment or give me a quote for the story or to clarify what I'm writing, and you don't take it, I'm still writing that story. So then once I write that story and it comes out, don't get mad and go, oh, you never talked to me. I tried, right? And so to me,
Yeah,
that's how
no.
I approach these candidates forums and things too. Because like I said, Kathleen Witcher, NAACP is known for having candidates nights forums. Where the public we can have public discourse. And to me, I invite people. I can tell you who I invited, but I won't run the list down. I'm gonna put them on blast. But I invited people to come and be on, right?
We
And the part
do
is, and I know Kathleen. Should I call you President Witcher? I know Kathleen also.
she's
When
gonna
I
be
sent her
my
the link,
forever president.
she sent out the link to people too. So right, they say if what it say, the mountain of Muhammad, or if you build it, they will come like the field of dreams. Look at we having a meeting, they didn't come. That ain't my fault. So if they got something to say about later on, because I'm recording all this, Mike, so I'll make you a star. So they can comment later on and maybe come on next time. But y'all missed, to me, they missed their opportunity to say what they want to say.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and right now we were talking about this Board of Ed election, because even though there's a slate of people in Irvington running 2026 and they're running unopposed, they still need to come to forums and have public discourse, because there are issues that go around. You are a homeowner. You pay taxes. I was just before you got on, telling the chief and telling Kathleen, President Witcher, I'm sorry. I was telling them that whenever I hear these towns in New Jersey currently running around talking about we don't have enough money for the schools, we run out of school, we should move forward. This, to me, I'm saying that's a tax collection issue. That means that their residents are voting down those school budgets. Right?
Yeah.
That's what that really means. It's like a voter rebellion or something. So it ain't that the money's not there. It's just that people are saying we ain't paying for that. And so you, as a homeowner, a taxpayer, because they have a tax levy that you have to pay taxes for, that help pay for this stuff. Am I wrong in my perception of these current quote unquote budgetary issues in New Jersey towns? Board of Education?
No, not at all. But it's unfortunate that, we put people in positions and then they either not representative of the people, or they're in it for their individual successes. And unfortunately, we have a lot of that. People are in it individually, and we're not acting as a collective. So when you talk about these budget issues in the schools and things of that nature, and it has to do with the amount of pressure that the parents and the community put on the on the school board and the school, to have the right uh, uh, needs for the kids that's going to the school. But yeah, it's very unfortunate. But a lot of people are in it for individual goals and not for the necessary represent the kids and the community at large.
Listen, I'm smiling because I tend to agree, especially when the holding the people accountable and then also being proactive. Because we were talking before you got on, and I was saying that the stereotype in Jersey had always been between the poor, the urban, and the suburban, which means the black ones and the white ones, right? Or the rich ones and the poor. Was that the poor, the rich districts, they get what they want because the parents are willing to go into their own pockets and fund the stuff that they want. They don't have to sit back and wait for whatever. They'll pay for it because they got the money to pay for their kids. They care about their kids' education. So I'm going to give them extra. Little Johnny needs a band. Give him a trombone. Here's a check from me. Whereas less affluent areas, poor, urban, black, right, and other minority districts, they don't have the tax base. They can't, parents are struggling or they're on public assistance or whatever. They don't have the money to do those extra things, And so that's where, you get a gap in education.
Chris?
The chief told me that I'm mixing apples and oranges. Right?
Okay,
I told you, he represents listen,
I would
Mike,
like to.
if you want to see what the man looks like, that's the chief. Look at him. That's the man. He's the system.
I'm
Mr.
going
Law
to say
Enforcement.
this.
We all
Let's do this. Newark, East Orange, Irvington, Orange. That's the big four in Essex County. What does that mean, big four? That constitutes the largest populated cities in that county, right? You're talking affluent. Livingston. Oh my goodness. Well, you want to talk Essex Fells? They don't have a population that much. They don't. And guess what? No, wait. No. Let's see. Analysis is important. What is the student population in those school districts? Newark has the largest student population. Go ahead, sir.
I hear what you're saying, but that's where the state aid comes in, because the state is giving per pupil for, even if it's a small population, they'll give it for that number of kids. That's the state's matching funds. Because, and Kathleen, we talk about Jersey and talk about education. The standard is thorough and efficient. You mentioned the and always the laws battles. Not the poor. I'm not going to call, but the towns and you mentioned are included in that Abbott stuff. But that's because, and as Larry Ham says, power never concedes nothing, right? You got to go take it. So you got to go to court to get it. But the standard is thorough and efficient, right? However much it takes to give these kids a thorough and efficient education. Am I wrong? Hello, Kathleen?
That's the law.
Right?
The parents did what he said. The parents did lobby and get that law, because my parents were one set of them. But you have to also remember, you talking about who showed up at the hearings. When you have those better informed parents, as in Montclair, they come out in groves, right? They don't care. They're there. But
see,
when you
I think that's allegedly.
budget hearing March 25th in Newark, the biggest school budget in the state, people don't show up because they don't know what it is. They don't have any clues, and nobody helped them. Nobody got organized well enough to show them, well, this is what the budget is about. This is how this is made, and so forth. And you only had those people who were, running, opposing the Barackas and the present administration to confuse the issue by saying, oh, the mayor did this with the school budget.
Well, see,
that's not how it works.
Well, see, okay. but that's why I'm glad Mike is here, because Mike, what she just talked about people who don't know, and when Kathleen was speaking, I was saying they may not know or understand, but as homeowners and taxpayers, they're still paying for it, right? I don't understand it, but
we don't have no newspaper. I don't know if the local press covers these stories either. That is a very big missing link, because people used to pick up some kind of concept.
Yeah, Mike, what were you saying?
From local press.
Environmentally, in our community, the poverty level is astronomical. Let me finish. Environmentally, people are robbing Peter to pay Paul, and they just don't have them wages. And school is important, and when it comes to prioritizing having somewhere to live as opposed to showing up to these meetings and being in it's very difficult environmentally. And the state funds, I mean, they're going to always shortchange the Black community, to be honest, because again, it's about the amount of pressure you can apply and the leverage you can apply on these politicians. They don't care nothing about your skin color, but when you can apply leverage on them to force them in a situation where they got to do what they got to do, they'll show up. But the leverage is just not there. That's just right. Looking at it from an environmental perspective, the leverage is not there.
Can we also take into consideration here that one thing that we're talking about money, we're talking about elected officials. Let's recognize, too, the number of homeowners as opposed to the number of voters citywide. Okay?
Yeah.
Homeowners have a distinct shareholder concern.
Yes,
like Brother Spruill said, hey, taxes go up. That's on my house. Yeah. Brother Joe or Brother Mo that live in that apartment complex don't pay property tax. And Irvington has a distinct larger rental constituency than homeowner constituency. And when you start comparing Montclair to that, Montclair and them starting to get all these apartment buildings, but they have a huge amount of property owners who are taxpayers. Property owners tend to be more conscientious about the politics that affect their property.
Yeah.
Chief, listen, I tend to agree with you, but in that thing, I'm saying right now in the current environment, I said that when Kathleen was talking, I was talking about when she mentioned about the people who live in educated, tax base, more affluent, this and this. You know, we always think. I was saying allegedly more well informed or more involved Montclair base because like you said, you think people who got been to school and got education and got good jobs that they're on their job and doing what they need to do to whatever. But then we look at Montclair and they, like I said, they had a BA and they got a school budget too, deficit too, because allegedly the BA was writing checks that the board didn't give her permission to write. And so you sit there and go, how can the BA be writing checks that are getting cashed and the board is not approving? So like I said, to me, it's allegedly. We think that they're smarter and more affluent, but they in practice, they seem...
No. They're more affluent, they're more educated, but are they more involved? See, that's the urban legend. People, because they're educated, if they're not participating in the government, what does that mean for the government? You can have all the PhDs and all the master's degrees, but if you're not going to get involved in the community ethos and developing and determining what goes on in that community, you're invisible.
And that's why I say go ahead and tax them. That they ain't going to complain about getting the money. Let's get that money from them. Hit them bad, right? They'll get mad when they start taking their tax money, right, Mike?
That's how the revolution started. But the tax money is very important. But again, it's the in my home, it's the leverage. You know, you can be involved all day long, but if you can't leverage that involvement to make a viable solution to all the problems, it don't until we can like put our 2 pennies together. You got to have lawyers, you got to have money. These people are not going to talk to you unless you got a lawyer, especially the politicians.
I disagree with that, Mike. I hear what you're saying, and I tend to agree because you got to because it sounds like what you're really saying is you got to have strength in numbers. People got to get organized and come together, and absolutely. I agree with that. I think that's what you're saying. But then again, like I said, I covered Hillside, and I'm going to do a thing about that because in Hillside, it was called the Hillside Citizens Actions Committee. Bob Trotty, Barbara Rowan, Joe Silver, the taxpayers in town, they got together because they were pissed about how Charlotte DeFilippo, the township clerk and Union County Democratic Committee chairperson and Democratic boss in Hillside Hillside Democratic Committee chairman at the time, were running the town, and they started a revolution. They wanted to change the town, change the form of government from a township committee or township council to strong mayor, not weak council, but strong mayor thing, and having to be an elected mayor as opposed to because in the county committee, municipal committee form, they just switch, they just rotate. They all run together, but then this guy gets to be mayor, and this guy gets to be mayor, without having an actual mayoral election. And so I've seen David take on Goliath and actually get it done. And I also, not to be funny, Chief, and I know you can't comment because you got a gag order on you, right? Not like in Pulp Fiction, but you just can't talk about it. But I told the Chief this too. To me, he did a David and Goliath too, and it's ironic with him because he is he's the law. But then again, he had to turn around and fight the law, and then he beat the law. So you got this one dude fighting against the system and the man in town, and he actually did win. So to me, that's why his story is fascinating, even though he can't talk about it, right? And so I've seen it twice. I've seen a group of people do it, and I've seen an individual dude do it, Mike.
Chris,
so I can't co-sign totally what you're saying.
No, Hillside has a lot of homeowners.
See, we're getting back to this.
Wait.
That's very important, though, Chris. That's very important.
Sir, people deal with their investment. Their home is the largest investment they have for most people. And they have to be conscientious of that. So when you talk about Hillside and some of these suburban communities, what you're really talking about are more homeowner-laden communities.
Hillside is pretty, man. It's right next to north.
I said homeowner. I didn't say so. I said homeowners. I'm very accurate in what I said. Homeowners, you can be suburban all you want. I'll take you to a place where there's homeowners, and I'll take you to a place where there's renters. And I'm going to tell you there's going to be a different level of involvement in the government from the
Yeah, yeah,
owners to the renters. That's
yeah.
see, everybody wants to make it be about education, and education is important. I'm going to tell you one of the biggest things is a socio-economic event that impacts mostly on all that we do. If you're poor, like Brother Spruill said, and you got to go to work or have 2 jobs, you ain't got time to be involved.
What?
You,
Just pay the money and be quiet.
wait. I know, Chris. Everybody's not affluent like you, Chris. Okay. And if you got to go to 2 jobs and your wife got to go 2 jobs, you find out the kids get sort of less of what they should get in terms of enrichment from the family unit, but the community gets less from you because you're too busy trying to make them dollars to pay them bills. Electric bill, gas bill, tax bill, sewer bill, all those bills come before all that other things that we like to say. You know what? We say we get affluent so we can enjoy the quality of life. The quality of life is not your bills. It's about your family. It's about the leisure. But you know what? That's money. But people nowadays are finding out they don't have that extra money to do those leisure things. They don't have the money to do the necessary things. So now they're making choices. And if you pay attention to the economists and all those, how you say, forecasters saying how America, what is the biggest thing you've heard in everything for the last 1 year? Economy, economics, buying that egg, paying for that bread, getting that gas. They ain't talking about, going to Europe or going to the islands.
Right.
They ain't talking about buying that. They talking about surviving. And this is,
Chief, may I?
go ahead.
I'm smiling because I hear what you're saying. But then by the same token, you just mentioned it before. They're throwing up all of these multi-unit buildings, multi-million-dollar buildings all over the place. So how you got a bad economy, but you got a building boom going on?
Because the
See?
billionaires and the billionaires and the multi-millionaires are making money. One thing has
And
always
listen,
been true. The maximum saying that you have to have money to make money is truer than it's been in any other
oh no,
time.
but then also listen, Chief,
Well,
all this new
we'll
housing
catch
that's
it.
coming up, it's expensive.
We'll
And
catch
so
it with the
somebody's paying those
with the
rent.
newer taxes, because
Huh?
all
let me
of those
say this.
cities, like
Let me say this
Jersey,
about the
Hold
new
on,
housing.
Mike. Go ahead.
are
What'd you say,
going to get
Kathleen?
new taxes.
What happens?
Okay, then the poor people gonna get taxed out of their towns because we just had a revaluation. Now, when I came here, I think the tax was 4,000.
Yeah.
Tax is triple that now, and the people, most of the people I know, my peers, they can't make 12,000. Are you kidding? They have to go.
Well,
So,
see, but this is what I learned from being a journalist. I tell you, because I didn't know about how government and stuff works either until I became a journalist and covered these towns. But what you're talking about, Kathleen, and then also you guys mentioned I mentioned Hillside, right? They used to have shearing plow, not shearing, is it shearing plow? They used to
Yeah.
have right in the middle of town, which is a huge rateable. So it come down to ratables. So when all those property taxes are going up, that means that the industry is gone, right? That the businesses that they could collect tax money from is not
The
there anymore.
ratables have changed. Commercial rate is
Yes.
different than residential rate.
And so
I
and so
I had real estate license at a point, and you look at what is that? Clifton. They lost that big pharmaceutical plant.
mhm,
They're trying to get it taken down and make apartment complexes. They need something to
mhm.
replace that loss. The
well listen,
property is
because
still the
that
property
goes
is
back
still
to what
garnering taxes, but it's not garnering taxes that it could have garnered if it was being used.
oh, you're right. But listen, and you mentioned Linden. Linden is blessed because they got that Exxon refinery out there, baby. That's a huge rateable. But also, what I'm
It's
saying
not
is,
Exxon anymore. It's still it's a different company, but it's not Exxon.
oh, see, this is why the chief is there to nitpick. But anyway, what I was saying, what you're talking about with Clifton, that was the Wayne Smith plan. Because I remember talking to Wayne Smith, I'm sitting there going, dude, who's gonna move into these East Ward when I can't even walk out of the house and go to the store without getting robbed, without being scared of getting robbed or
New
shot?
Yorkers.
Yes,
New
that's what they
Yorkers.
said. That's what they said. They said people from New York, they're gonna come over here. It's gonna be great. But then they got derailed and the economy went down. But that's what's happening. And so all these. But then the other thing is all them people flooding from New York over here, they're jacking up the rents. And so, like you say, you go to Jersey City, they got like $5,000 apartments, right? And whatever. And
Yeah.
you sit there going, who can afford to pay that? Somebody can afford to pay it. So if somebody can afford to pay that, how is the economy bad that everything else is getting more expensive? It doesn't make any sense to me. Unless somebody got their finger on the switch and the lever, whatever. But that's not a conspiracy theory. I'm just saying, it seemed like the numberings are not adding up, right? And the excuses are piling up. But it's and that's why people think it's like a conspiracy, if you ask me.
But you're talking about if the people were honest and they came in and did what the law allows. You ain't got that kind of person. A person come in and their name may be John Adams and they'll write down their name as Bernard Schultz. That's what's going on now. So you might as well forget anything about leveraging off because it's not going to happen. Those developers are, they develop and they move on. They develop somewhere else. I saw on the Central Planning Board for Newark the same building. It looked exactly the same as the structure they just put up in Palm Beach, coming to Newark on Governor Street. Governor Street was a wasteland out over there on Broadway. Okay, my father-in-law lived around the tenements. Okay, they found somewhere near Clay Street where nobody was going, and they gonna put the development there. Well, they're not putting the development so I can move in it. There will be some units, but maybe one or two. But they're putting the development because those people will cross the river. They have the 6-figure and they will pay. But the rest of us are the ones that are going to get the bulk of the trauma when we have to try to find somewhere to go.
You have to look at, if we would, you look at Springfield Avenue. I remember being involved when Cassandra Chapman was
Mm-hmm.
attracting new businesses to come in and establish. What's the
You said Cassandra, we got to reference people. Cassandra Chapman was what in Irvington? Her title
UEZ?
was
UEZ.
UEZ with Irvington
What?
Enterprise.
Right. What is that? The I can't. The Mexican fast food joint. Taco Bell.
Taco
Yes,
Bell.
thank you. Taco Bell. She went out to get Taco Bell. They went out to get drug on Springfield and Grove. You have to attract businesses. I'm looking at all these discount stores. When your city starts getting a lot of discount stores,
Yeah,
you're on stone cold from being a vacancy city in your
yeah.
urban district.
Well, see, and that to me has always been the issue with Irvington, right? Because in his business and whatever, and then when we were talking about New Jersey and renters coming over from New York, location, location, location. To me, I don't understand why it's hard to attract business to Irvington. You got the Parkway right there, the Turnpike over there, 1 and 9 over there. You got the bus station on Central. Chief, I hear what you're saying.
No, I was going to agree with you, but I'm going to say this. In the Bible, it says, "You receive not because you ask not." You got to go out there and ask businesses to come into your town. You got to solicit them. That's not a happenstance. I mean, McDonald's and Burger King do surveys. They know where they want to put their places.
Yeah.
The other ones, you
True.
got to give them enticements, or you got to induce them, or you got to solicit them to say what you. Hey, people only know what you tell them. Sometimes we're not on the map. Irvington's not
Well,
like
see,
there's
Chief,
just a spot.
what it sounds you just said to me, Chief, is caveat emptor. But I want to say something too. We talk about those developments that's going up. I've seen that happen, right? It's one that we talk about those buildings that's going up in Harrison and East Orange. This. Listen, right there in the heart of Irvington, right off of Grove Street, that used to be the projects, right? Right there by where the Parkway comes out. But now, from what I understand, there's doctors living in there, or airline pilots, and people living inside there. And I'm talking about, what is that, Irvington Gardens, Monroe Gardens, whatever it is right there. That once upon a time, that was the projects, yes? And so it's right there.
Not a project.
People, I would tell you, like you say in the North, like you say in the East Orange, they started coalescing their ideas on developing a development plan. And then they tried to attract developers to go into these development plans. You know, it takes a while. Newark, we're seeing Newark now, but a lot of the plans you see for Newark are 30 years old.
Oh yeah, that's
That
right.
development plan. I was blessed to be with the former mayor, the deceased mayor, not just Sharp, before him and Harris. They were planning stuff. People say what you want. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. You, like you said, the idea is you got to have a vision. Even biblically, they said, if a man has no vision, he lost.
Well, see, you know what's interesting? What you just said was why I'm smiling, because, and I tell you, I talked to Wayne Smith, Mayor Smith, too, about this, about his plan and how it was, and I had technical difficulties, so I missed out about it. It's an hour of stuff that we talked about that I just did not record, and I'm sorry, but it's actually good because I think he really got himself in trouble too. But no, one of my problems is you talk about 30 years ago, and my thing is how long it takes for this type of plans that you're talking about to happen in Black community. Because you're 100% right, but I think it shouldn't take that long. And I think that one of the problems is that it takes so long in Black communities. Because I want to frame it like this, Kathleen. Hold on. Because that plan that they had over in the East Ward to build that new school, the school construction, this. I remember I was covering Elizabeth at the same time when Tom Dunn Jr., the son of the famous mayor of Elizabeth, who had been mayor for like 30 years, but his son was the superintendent of schools. When that school construction corporation stuff went through, Tom Dunn Jr., he jumped on it like that. He jumped on it immediately. Hold on, wait, let me finish. I want to frame this because I know what you guys are going. And he started buying up properties. And if you look around Elizabeth now, there's all those schools that Tom Dunn Jr. jumped on immediately before they ran out of money. But by the time it came to Irvington, it had taken so long that they ran out of money. And so then they had to stop all that property they couldn't do anything with. And I remember talking at the time to Board of Ed members, and I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but I'm going to do it anyway, right? I don't want to speak any bad about anybody, but I'm going to kind of do it. Anna Scott, a teacher in Newark, member of the Irvington Board of Education. And I remember talking to them back then going. And when I started coming to Irvington, I'm saying, why is it taking y'all so long to do this? Like I said, Tom Dunn Jr. and Elizabeth, they jumped on it. I'm saying, why is it taking so long? Oh, and she kept coming up with every single excuse in the world why they couldn't do it, or why Elizabeth got it done that, and then how Irvington couldn't do it. And I'm sitting there going, really? Is that in your brain? And then when I talked to Wayne Smith, he said some of the same stuff as Anna Scott. Then he started talking about, well, they got that mall out there, and that mall was attractive. And I'm sitting there going, that mall was not completed when that school construction corporation stuff happened when Tom Dunn was doing that. Because I was covering it, and I was there when it was built. So it wasn't even there. So what I'm saying is, it just takes us longer to do stuff. And then by the time we get around to it, the market done shifted.
Let us, there's a dynamics in that.
Go ahead.
You said it took time, but let's also deal with.
It too much time.
Wait. Let's deal. Tom Dunn Jr. Okay.
See now.
No. You cannot get away from the sphere of influence. Tom Dunn Sr. ran Elizabeth. I knew Mr. Dunn. He was one of the oldest, longest-serving mayors in the state of New Jersey.
But Chris Bowles was mayor then.
Okay, wait. No. But the sphere of influence still exists. That's how his son got to be on the board.
See,
Don't play with me.
Don't play with me. Can I interrupt you?
Go ahead.
Oh, you see, I'm smiling because this is what it comes down to, and this is what I mean, Mike and Kathleen. And it's okay because me and the Chief, we talk. I think we got good chemistry because I'm a rebel when he's the man, right? But listen, but what he's coming up with is what Anna and Wayne Smith said about why it can't be done. Because we talk about America, I can, all these other factors aside from the point of here's the fun, here's some money.
I didn't say it can't be done. I said that's why it happened there as quickly as it did. Let me absolutely, sir. I know Barbara Perkins. I know quite a few. I lived in Elizabeth for a few years, brother. I'm from Union County. I know Bowledge for years.
Mm-hmm.
For years. And the dynamics that you also have to reinvest. Most of that money for Jersey Gardens goes back into Elizabeth.
Well, Chief, But that's because they drove a hard bargain and they had a good deal. But what I'm saying is, when it comes to that school construction fund and those schools that they got brought up, that mall was not even open yet. So that
I
none
know
of
that.
those ratables was there.
I know, but Elizabeth is, what is it, fifth or sixth
Oh,
largest city
it's got
in.
the port.
Wait,
You're
wait,
right.
wait. So when we're talking about, and Elizabeth's business community is still thriving, even though it's went through an evolution of types of stores. There's very few vacant stores in that center district. They've
Right.
changed. Okay, Elizabeth is still the airport. They still got the seaport. They still got uh
You talking about
access
ratables?
to.
See, we're talking about ratables again, right?
But we're also talking about location.
Yeah.
Aha.
You don't see them.
Geography.
Don't see
Talking
them
about location.
building
And
in
then let's
Elizabeth.
get this. They have a foundation. They were a established community.
Why? Because George Washington slept there. I know they got houses in there
Sir,
that say George
sir,
Washington slept there.
sir. When you're building on a strong foundation, all you gotta do is keep it up. When you're building on one that's new, one of the things African Americans fail to realize that when we get in communities, the housing stock has deteriorated. The the people that own it, pockets aren't as deep as the ones that rich, or the economy has changed, so it costs more.
Yeah, we get
These
there too
things,
late.
well, guess what? Getting there is not always your timing. It's your opportunity. Okay, okay. When
You have
opportunity
to be
knocks, you
honest.
go.
That state money,
So,
that state
all right.
money, a lot of times,
So
that state
so
money, a
so
lot of times, don't come back the way it do in white
I,
communities.
I will
It's
I will
not.
not I will not address what I know, but I know in a couple of the more urban communities where blacks became the political affluent from that, they had to make choices. Do we keep the inspection rate and the quality of our housing stock up and find these homeowners but who are stressing, or do we let them slide by? And by letting them slide by, your housing stock go down.
Well, see, listen, and this is, and so you got to. I hear what you're saying, Chief, and that was very diplomatic. He's very diplomatic, and I like that, but I don't. But I hear what you're saying, and you're talking about the choices. But what that goes to is what that other stereotype is that it was running when other people were in charge, but once the white people took over, look at what happened. And because you said those decisions that people were made trying to be helping each other out as opposed to being Darwinian, right? But I'm not going to get. I'm not going to get onto that, right? All I'm saying is, and Kathleen, you still there?
I'm
I'm sorry,
still here.
President Witcher. What do you think about my gripe with Anna Scott and those other Irvington Board of Education members
Well, you
when it
see,
comes to those schools?
every school board is not the same, and we know
Right.
that. And so every board member is not equipped. The situation has worsened. People will just tell you anything they think you want to hear today. And I'll give you just one example. One lady claims she's suing the Newark police and it's taking 18 years or something like that. But I think she had a personality incapacity and therefore she was fired, right? So she says, well, I know my mother and my father was active just like your mother and father in education, and I know everything, blah, blah. So we're talking about the Newark schools, and then we're talking about elections. And I use this for an example because Anna Scott, she did the best she could. But this particular lady, she gave herself such great accolades. And then she says, you know, they're having such a brew about the election in Newark. They're going to have a mayor and all the council and whatnot. And the election is coming up in November. Now, listen, we know there was never no municipal election in November, but somehow, the people will come into a position and this is what you got. So when you ask a question, Mr. Syke, and they know they're going to write it or they're going to say it or they're going to hear it again, they tell you to the best of their ability what they know, and they may be dead wrong. And Spruill will tell you that because he came before the town council for years. And when he wasn't there, I came back. What are you going to do about the flooding? The people are losing their cars, their foundations have cracked. We brought in the state DEP. They told us what they had to do: repair or replace the old crumbling concrete wall, and therefore they would abate the situation.
Listen, I don't.
Town ain't want to do it.
I want to interrupt you, but I'm going to make you mad, Mike Spruill, because I agree with what Kathleen said, and I know a little bit about your situation, and I think she's right about that. But I covering Hillside, and listen, Hillside had a flooding issue, not like yours, because you guys are on the side of a hill. So when the rain comes, it washes down. You're at the bottom of the hill. Mm-hmm. But in Hillside, down there, the township attorney, the current township attorney, his mother was also an attorney. They lived in Hillside, and Irvington township attorney. Well, I don't know what his name is, but his mother and him, they lived there. Their dog died in the flood because they lived down there at the bottom on Harvard Avenue. And whenever it rained hard, the river flooded. And they, for some reason, they left their dog in a cage, and they went out, and the water came in and they killed their dog. And it was a big thing in Hillside about that, going, what the hell, right? And they were very hurt by the loss of their pet, which I can understand, right? But Adam Samiak was the township engineer for Hillside back then. Adam Samiak.
He was Irvington too.
Because he used
to work in Irvington. He used to work in Irvington.
I was lucky then because he was good. But he said, yes, we got this flooding problem, it's an issue. And what he ended up, and he said, we're working on it. It took him a while, but what he ended up doing was getting the Army Corps of Engineers to come in and fix that flooding issue. So right now, today on Harvard Avenue and Hillside, they don't flood like that no more because of what Adam Samiak did. And, and he was a township. And listen, no. So listen, what I'm telling you is, and I'm saying what your issue is, it takes that level of outside the box thinking or commitment to solving a problem or whatever to get it done. But he got it done, and it wasn't in time for that dog who died. But to me, it's not the same as your thing because your thing dates back. But to me, that's what was needed in Irvington to adjust. They needed somebody to do or go to the lengths like Adam Samiak did in Hillside.
Well, went for years. Spruill went for years.
I'm not saying it's your fault, Spruill, because you're not a township engineer. You ain't Adam Samiak.
I know it's not my fault. But what I want to say to that is the man on Lincoln Place died. The man just not 2 years ago. Yeah, they don't know whether he drowned or he was electrocuted. I'm sure the autopsy by now would explain what exactly happened to him, but they lived along the Elizabeth River as well. And in Irvington, the township engineer.
Was he a black dude? Was he a black dude who died?
No, he was a white guy.
Okay. I was going to say, Mike Vick went to jail for killing dogs. People love their dogs more than human beings.
He was. I met with the man. Matter of fact, the Taco Bell was brought up. The only time I really met with the man was when they was engineering getting rid of the service in the club to build the Taco Bell. They put him on the environmental committee. That's when I knew we were screwed. But either way, you're absolutely right. It takes know-how. It takes the people being involved. And like you said, they got the Army Corps of Engineers to come in and fix it. The elected officials here think and will tell you that the Army Corps of Engineers own that faction of the Elizabeth River, and they don't. Newark own that faction of the Elizabeth River. Right there, when you get to Madison, Irvington own it. But that's neither here. I peeled that onion all the way back.
Oh no, Mike. Go ahead.
So let me finish. The people will boldly tell you Elected officials will boldly tell you that the Army Corps of Engineers, and that's not the job of the Army Corps of Engineers. The Army Corps of Engineers is the ones who come in and get the contractors for the government to fix these things. But these people here in these positions to this day think the Army Corps of Engineers own the Elizabeth River. And that's
Yeah.
not, and they will
Listen,
boldly lie to your face
Lord
about
have
it.
mercy.
So
this is but this is.
let me say this, Chris. I want you to finish.
Go ahead.
This problem over here, like the Chief said, like you said earlier, the positioning of it is a lot more complicated. And if the story gets out about people, medical and physical conditions to what's going on over there, it'll be another story. But at the same time,
that's what you want here for, Mike. Get the story out, man.
well, it's the cluster.
We won't do it on this episode, but in general, because listen, to me, what you're saying, that's why I like doing what I'm doing, right? We have dovetailed nicely because before you got on, Mike, we was talking about how my pet peeve, and one of the reasons why I do this and got in journalism and stuff in the first place, is that I feel that there's really I say dearth, DEARTH, which is lack or insufficient amount of good Black leadership. And so you're talking about, and Kathleen commented on it, that, people who ask an elected official a question and they don't know, and then they just tell you some crazy stuff that they don't know. But then it gets back to why leadership is important, why running for public office, which gets back to why we should have more public discourse. Chief and Kathleen, and anybody who watches this who don't want to do public discourse, even you're running for elected public office, is because why do you run for office? Which is what you said before about people getting there and forget. But my thing is because democracy, even though we have never lived in one really in America, but I won't get into that, right? But whatever it is that we're in, representative democracy, it requires, even when you're a homeowner,
participation.
You got to be, participation, but also active participation. You get elected, you're supposed to get elected and figure this stuff out, learn this stuff out, so that when your constituents, the people who elected you, come to you and ask you, you can answer the question for them. But you get these people who run for office and they don't want to do no work. They don't want to learn no nothing. And so they go by what somebody that they rely on has told them. And that's also why problems happen. Why you can get somebody in Montclair who's, writing checks and cashing them without permission from the board, allegedly, right? Or why it happened in Irvington too. I like Mike Spruill, right? I like Mike Spruill when I met him. But Mike Spruill, that's what Mike Spruill was accused of, right? And of doing and convicted of doing, went to jail for it, right? Allegedly with Ken Gibbs in the North. That's what he accused of doing something like that in Irvington with the kids too. See, and that's the problem to me, is when you don't have people with knowledge in a position of oversight. It also happened in these storms with the water company, because after Bowser brought in dude to run a water company and he fixed it, nobody understood what he could do. And so if people don't understand what you're doing, they just let you do it, thinking it's the whatever. And then you go, wait a second, ain't nobody watching me? If I just did this, right? And next thing you know, you're in trouble, right?
Chris?
And so, but to me, this goes back to the whole issue of why we need to have these candidates. Hold on 1 second, Chief. Thank you for raising your hand, young man. But having the candidates nice forums, and why we have this public discourse, and why it's important, even if you're not running against anybody, even if we all know who's going to win, to have these talks so that people can learn and find out, and you can grow public participation, public knowledge, and insight, and you can all get better. But that's if you want to get better, as opposed to just holding on to power. But that's a totally another discussion for another.
You made a statement about oversight, and I don't want to kill that dog you brought in. But oversight is nothing if it's not effective. You have to.
See, that goes to law enforcement.
Up. Let me get in there. You have leadership, and leadership is about oversight. Every department in any municipality, county government, state government is supposed to be there to have oversight, to manage that department and hold the persons in there accountable. Now, if the people that you have to manage are more titular than a reality, you're not going to get oversight. You're going to get a title.
Well, the other thing is, hold on, let me stop you. Chief, you have such a large vocabulary. What does titular mean? Titular. For the average person, what does titular mean, Chief?
Okay, it's somebody who just figurehead, look good, but it's empty
Empty
suit.
suit.
Okay, so and that happens in a lot of government. I've seen cases where government say they're going to do something and nothing happens. Why?
You know that. You know the irony of why you see me smiling, Mike and Kathleen. You know why I'm laughing like this when Chief said that about titular or whatever? Is because he's also the one who told me that not being good at your job is a crime. That you could, because I'm sitting there going, there's places I know where people who wrote checks for work that was never done, they didn't get prosecuted. The person who took the check and cashed the check got prosecuted, but the person who wrote the check didn't get prosecuted. And the chief's going, well, it's not a crime to not be good at your job or to be inept at your job. And I'm sitting there going, what? That's not inept. When you
It's a
wasted people's
travesty,
money.
but not necessarily a crime.
See,
It
say
can
it
be a
again now. Go
crime,
ahead.
but not. You understand? It's always a travesty, but it's not necessarily a crime. And Brother Spruill understands what I'm saying with that.
Oh,
Do
without a
you
doubt.
understand
Yeah.
that? That's your taxpayer money,
Wait a minute.
Mike.
I
You
give you an
understand that?
example. I give you an example. We all know, we're all old enough to remember when North lost $50 million. They couldn't find $50 million. Remember
That
that?
happened in Patterson too.
All right, well, let's talk about North. It's closer. I don't know how you lose $50 million, because if I think about the interest and the account, you can't lose $50 million.
Right.
What I used to say is they didn't get to steal the money. They was waiting to steal the money. They had it hidden away till they could get to it and couldn't get to it. Okay? Because you can't lose $50 million. There's no bookkeeping in the world that allows you to lose $50 million.
Well,
Okay?
gee, maybe it was in the little bag, and somebody picked the wrong bag up. I don't
I know
know.
the federal government don't allow people to get that kind of cash out of a bank. You
It
Or
could
got
have
to
been.
like
do wire
It could have been in
transfer.
gold bars.
the New York mass transit.
Hey, that government in there, so we know gold bars is a problem too. Okay.
Because you have double books. You have double books. You can write it anyway.
Oh no. Wait. See, I said you can't lose. I can't say you can't hide. Okay, there's a difference.
Exactly.
See,
You eat
Exactly.
an
And
elephant one. You eat an
that point.
elephant one bite at a time. I'm sure the people who was missing that 50 million, somebody did it a little at a time, and nobody was
Yeah.
looking for a long
But
time, and that
also,
50 million just went away.
yeah, to that point, you wouldn't have seen developments if they
Yeah.
thought that that money would get squandered somewhere. So what I learned last spring when they came through with the State of the People tour and stopped in Newark, that the people said we didn't know Barack, but we knew his father. And so when you
Yeah.
say Mr. Dunn and Dunn Jr., people look at your reputation, they look at your track record. My brother used to say, you are known by your history. And those things generate or do not generate things for you in your future. And look at the government, and we look at the government, and this went wrong, and that grant went south, and this went wrong, and that went wrong, and there are very few things that didn't go wrong. People don't invest in that because they know they're going to lose their investments. I can remember when Cory Booker was the mayor, and right there where they're going to do a whole new thing at Broaden Market, you can see it right now because all those loft buildings are vacant. You have all those buildings right at Broaden Market that are empty. That's where they were going to develop a whole mass thing. The Jewish people came in there. I don't know what their name were, but that's how they were
Mm.
identified. Under Cory Booker, they
Mm.
said they were coming. They got tired, 2, 3 years. They left. And I don't think they never coming back. But
see, it takes
somebody
too
else
long.
now will be there. Okay? And it will be transforming and never know what it looked like before.
Well, no, see that goes back to my point about it. It just takes too long in black community. I'm sitting there going, you gotta jump on it while it's hot, right? You gotta get it while it's hot, right? And we don't always get it while it's hot. And that the chief mentioned that we always get there after the decline has happened and the tax base has changed, and all of a sudden stuff starts going down because you got white flight or you got whatever you want to call it, even if you don't want to call it that. And it's the truth, but that's a timing thing to me. So to me, and my
Well,
career as a journalist,
you got what's called homeowner. You got what's called homeowner flight now because people leaving their properties and going south and there's a reverse migration in a sense.
Oh well, listen to me.
And now here is all of these high rise popping up. It's a environmentally it's an overdevelopment and
Well, no, Mike. Listen, I am not a conspiracy theorist guy, but I'm going to tell you. You talk about this reverse migration. That's deliberate, and it's deliberate, and I'm not going to call it economic racism, but that's what it is. It's we'll just price you out. You can't afford to live here. You got to go.
Gentrification?
No, I mean economic racism. Gentrification is I'm just building this stuff up. What I'm saying is we're going to deliberately make it cost more to live here. If you can't afford to live here, you got to go. And so, hold on one second, Chief.
The chief is right, though.
Wait. But Mike, I'm going to frame it. I'm going to tell you why I believe this. Because you talk about the reverse migration going back down because it's supposed to be cheaper down there. This. And then I referenced this, and the chief will tell you, I've told him about it before. Charles Blow. There's never been a more accurate name for somebody than Blow, right? And he's a writer, a black dude for the New York Times. And he wrote an op-ed piece. He wrote a piece talking about the need for black people to leave the cities and go back to the South. And it was because, and it wasn't because of it was just like a thing. Oh, it was after that woman down there in Atlanta in Georgia had registered all those black voters who were previously unregistered, and they won a seat down there in Georgia for the Democrats. And she was like, and they was all, and all the Democrats were like, yeah, that's how we do it. Let's go back down there and organize them and get them on there. And then we're going to go back down to the South. Are we going to take them? And so to me, that's what's going on. This black migration or the black flight or whatever you want to call it, reverse migration. That's what's going on. It's people being priced out, and it's deliberate. A la Charles Blow's great idea. We need to go back to the South.
Can I say this, Chris? There's a lot of the people that are going back to Atlanta, that part of the South, are young people who don't have a connection up here, and they want to go where they see more of themselves.
Well, Charlotte is really the place to go. Apparently.
Wait. Let's deal with what you're talking about. If you check the real estate, most of these people, I can tell you where people are going. Blacks are going to Atlanta. Atlanta is the hottest thing going. Why? Because the young people want to go where they see themselves and see themselves being accepted and being prominent.
You sure about that, Chief? Because what I hear is the LGBTQ plus Mecca, and that's why everybody going down there.
Mecca is someplace where you feel you get the water, get nourished,
LGBTQ plus,
feel good, and guess what? And it's a black Mecca.
LGBTQ plus,
and that's why the current Republicans is trying to make that voting area non-essential, non-viable, non-existent. Okay, but if you ever notice, Marjorie Taylor Greene got another Republican in her seat. That brother did not win. Did not win. Just so in case you know, and he didn't even get close.
Listen, the irony of what you're saying, which is why I'm smiling, because I'll tell you a story about that Atlanta thing. Listen,
he did better than they expected. But go ahead.
They didn't expect him to be in it.
listen. You know,
but you guys are talking different languages. He brought up Stacey Abrams. She's in Georgia. And you talking about people moving to Georgia. And that story, I read that story. But that's, again, gentrification is what you brought up earlier. That's the devaluation of the property here, the tax dollars, and what we're getting for our money. And that's how gentrification works. They start with the crime, the houses run down, then people come in and buy it cheap. So that's,
and then they replace the stock with higher.
Same thing.
And then they replace it with higher price stock. So the people that used to live there, you asked a question when you said a long time ago, why it takes so long in Newark and all that to do that? Because the black people didn't want to put those black people out of stellar rate. Mm-hmm. They had to go someplace where you develop. to renovate places, you have to relocate the people that live there.
Chief, you say something. You make me laugh. You make me smile because he's just such an establishment dude. Because he keep coming, he keep defending this. He keep defending the structure. You cop, right? But no. Because listen, I hear what you're saying, but I disagree with you because, and you said that black people didn't want to displace black people. But what I'm saying is, all those areas that we're referencing, they was all controlled by black people and run by black people, full of black people, and the development was supposed to be for the black people that was there, and they just didn't move fast enough for the black people that was there to benefit from what they was doing. So that now, as when you drag your feet, the ship passes us by, and now there's new people coming in. So the stuff that's going to be that would have benefited the black people had they moved faster is benefiting other people.
No, I'm going to tell you that some of what you said has truth to it, but the other part is you take Stellar Rate and you take the 2,000 families that live there, and then you take all those new garden complex you got there, and that take one quarter of what lived in Stellar Rate. Where did those other people have to go?
Anywhere else. I remember
Kathleen.
Thank you. So and guess what? That changed the number of voters. That changed the census.
Well,
that
Chief,
also left them. Wait.
This is why I'm saying it's deliberate. This is why I'm saying that it's a plan about this whole reverse migration thing. Because I was gonna say, Kathleen, Richard, HUD giving out them vouchers, housing stuff that's good anywhere. You could take them vouchers and go wherever. And so there's people who used to live in Irvington in the not the projects, but over there in the project in Irvington, they living down in Edison now, getting the same vouchers, the same thing. And so HUD moving people out of there. That's the deliberate thing too. But I don't want to get into that because listen, it's 7:50 now, and I see how time flies. We have a good conversation and good stuff.
Yeah, and I gotta go, but I want to say.
Oh no! But
brother, I'm from Little Bricks, USA. Okay, they want to sue because it's still there with the trees growing through the concrete. That's the best life I ever had. I never want to give it up, but things are that we needed to be, and hopefully it will be coming with the next group of people that they will teach generational wealth. A lot of times people move out, their children should have come in there and took them places because they're out there living, and they could the places, fix the place up and stay the hell in there and keep the thing going. But we didn't know that, and so we have to learn that. But I'm sorry.
Well, no, listen, the socialists.
I'm going.
Well, no, listen, right. Kathleen, before you go.
Hey, Cass,
don't leave yet, Kathleen. Listen, what I was, this all dovetails nicely. I want to wrap it up and say, this is why, when we had this discussion and we've had this talk that we've had this long, this is why we need to have those type of forums for candidates and for taxpayers and people. And so this is why it should be happening. I am glad. I want to give you guys homework. Because I know Kathleen wants to hold forums. Like I said, today she gave me dates. She said April 8th, April 14th, and there's a couple more days, right? So
April
I'm going to follow that schedule you gave me to have this next thing with us. So Mike Spruill, you're invited. Chief, you're always invited because we got good chemistry.
Text me the dates, and I'll try to keep them.
And listen,
meet me at 60 Payne Avenue.
But yes,
New Point.
It's going to be at Payne Avenue. She said Payne Avenue.
Yeah. I got a couple of confirmations already.
All right.
And then 6 p.m. Tuesday, April the 14th. I'll send you the email.
Okay.
All right. I'm out. Thank you.
Be blessed.
Thank you, sir.
All right. See? And this is why, Mike, I've been trying to get this dude on here for the longest. He just wouldn't come. He's such a politician because, now he done settled his case. He wanted to go back to being.
I've never been a politician. I've been politically involved, but I've never been a politician. Never ran for an office.
Well, listen, this is a great start. Mike, you're always welcome. I'm going to send you links all the time. Like I said, the 14th, I'll come out to that thing over there for the NAACP and what she's doing, Kathleen. But just in terms of podcast, you're a good guest. But Chief, I already told you, man, we can be like the Mace and the Cam of Jersey, right? I'm going to be Mace, though. No, I'm not the pretty one. No, you can be Mace because you're the pretty one. I have to be the Cam and Wild for the night one, right? But so this is the good first ones, and you see this is not threatening, but they can also be productive. We talked about a lot of good things. I want to do a show on you, Chief, and I want to do a show about. Like I said, you can't talk on a love subject, but we can talk around it, baby. And because I think, like I said, I saw the Hillside Citizens Action Committee take on the man and win, and then I saw you, who is the man, take on the man and then beat the man. So that's funny to me too, right? So I want to do a story about that. And then Mike Spruill, like I said, that thing with Adam Samiak in Hillside and what happened. That really,
He used to be the public works director. He used to be the public
solution to whatever problem you guys are having over there. It's just, once again, this is what I mean about taking too long. The will, body, the will and the knowledge, and according to the chief and Kathleen, the connections to get it done, right? Because I remember talking to Wayne Smith, and they always got every excuse not why we can't do it. What the heck, man?
No, they didn't have the political will to do it. They still don't have the political will.
You need the will.
Yes,
you
need the
will.
will.
Have the political will, and
if you get the will and have the methodology, you become more effective.
Facts.
Yeah, right.
All right. And so, Mike,
go
ahead. Keep going.
I'm not over there. I'm not over there anymore. We had to make a decision to leave from over there. But
did you get your property?
Oh, it was it was worked out, but I had to leave over there. Period. And
that's okay. Well, listen, you still welcome, because like I said, this is not, my stuff is not exclusive to these towns that I covered before. To me, it's just for everything, because all these issues you talk about Trump and them, that's national. So the very national comes down to the very small local too. So it's all relevant, and local goes up to the national. So that's great. I'm glad you. Yes. So I'm glad you guys are involved. I will let you know the next time it comes out. Chief, this is the start of a good thing, right? Because listen, I was recording all this. I'm gonna play this for everybody who was not here, and we're gonna see who get pissed off, right? Who got something they want to say. They come back on and come say. Because we didn't get specific, but I got a little bit specific. But yes, because but that's I gotta draw them out, Chief. I gotta lure them out, to get the effect that I want to get. And I told MTV this yesterday. I told them, said, listen, man, when I worked for the War Rouse, I told the War Rouse, David War Rouse, I said, listen, I will never do anything to get you sued. I'm not going to get y'all sued, right? I'll never do nothing to get y'all in trouble, right? But that don't apply to me, right? So I'm going to go wild for the night. I tell you, that's why I need an anchor, Chief. You got to keep me back. You got to go, hey, come back from the edge, Chris, because I'm going to go, baby, right? And Mike, you can be there to witness it and document and say, Chris had the good intentions. He just went over the edge too far.
Hey, you got to go over. You got to go over to see what you can handle.
All right. No doubt. But listen, so I'm going to wrap this up. This is my company is called Eclipse. It's a production company. It's a multimedia web. My website is eclipse.biz, EKLIPSE.biz. I also have Eclipse, the Eclipse Spotlight on YouTube. It's ES, and I'm gonna post it on there. I'll send it out. Yeah. So anybody can find me. Look for Eclipse, and you can go to the website EKLIPSE.biz.
And you gotta say that a little slower, man. I didn't hear a word you said.
It's okay. I'm gonna post it. I'll send you the link. You can go back and record it. All right.
Hey, Brother Spruill, you get the program to pick your merch that he got. He got merch, Chris Black.
Yes. Yeah, listen, it's an all black emoji smiling.
If it's all black emoji, I won't be able to see the smile.
Oh, come on now, Chief. You know what it's like when you grew up a kid going, Chris, smile. You're so dark, right? I see, but that's why we gotta have you on, Chief. That was genuinely funny. All right. And so, but I think this was a good one. And listen, I got an assignment for both you guys, even though you don't live in town or whatever. Because
I live in town. What you talking about?
Well, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about Mike. But listen,
okay, don't
questions. Come up with some legit questions about for any board of ed, for any municipal candidate in Irvington, and for the mayor. Just come up with 3 to 5 questions to ask for a list of questions. I'm going to tell it to Kathleen too, because that's always the problem. People don't want to participate because they don't want to get hit with a question like we were just talking about. They don't know the answer to. So I don't mind giving you the answers in advance. You can come in and see knowledgeable, because we can always build off of it organically, right? As I told you before, Chief, conversation goes where it goes.
I'm going to tell you something. When you give a person a question in advance, you could get knowledge, but what you could get is fluster. They're going.
Why? Because they didn't take the chance. They didn't take the opportunity to answer.
I listened to enough political events and people where they how you say posture and say a whole lot, pontificate, as you say. I can say that because I know Brother Spruill know what that means. You know what it means, so don't give me that. I know you know what that means.
Well, that's
And
why you
it's like
recorded, Chief,
it's
because
like it's like George Bush 41 said, "Where's the beef?" You hear a whole lot, but ain't no patty in that bun. You know what I'm
well,
saying?
that's why you got to record it, Chief. Because if it don't hold up under the record, if I can go back and watch it and go, he wasn't saying nothing at all, then people reveal themselves. So, all right, like I said, 7:58 right now. This was for till 8 o'clock, so I'm gonna keep going until just cuts off automatically. But yo, you can log out, Mike. Mike, I'm glad you showed up. But then again, that's the type of dude you are. And listen, I keep telling you, that flooding issue, and I forgot about that. But this true. What is the name of the township attorney for Irvington right now? What is his name?
I don't know.
Ramon Rivera
Ramon Rivera. Yes, they're from Hillside.
and Mayor
His
Warren
dog was
is
the
his
one.
first assistant.
Yes, his mother.
But
His,
to be fair, they've done some work over there. I saw the street dug up. They were putting in some piping, but it's yet to be tested. And
What do
that
you mean?
particular
What you
area
say?
over there
It's
is
too
really.
late, baby. It's too late.
well, listen, I didn't know some dude. I didn't know some dude died down there because of the flooding. I mean, that's
Yeah, it
crazy.
was. Well, I forgot his name, man. You got to look it up. He was on Lincoln Place,
Really?
right there by the behind Don's Diner, a little
Oh yeah.
further down.
Oh no,
Yeah.
we lost a police car. Guy, one of my officers rode in there. I told him he thought it was a submarine because the water got high all the time.
Really?
And that's the reason. That's the reason the post office is not open either. A lot of people in there was getting sick. They lost too many vehicles. There's a lot going on with this
I used to
thing,
see
and
them mugs
it's
floating. The big
yeah, and
vans, the big
the vans and
trucker vans
everything
used to
be
float
going
on
down the
top of the
street.
water.
Oh no.
Yeah,
See, and
yeah.
listen, like I said, like Adam Samiak, you gotta go and you gotta have the will to try to find a solution to the problem because there's almost always a
What can I
solution.
tell you something? In some of these cases, they had a solution. They just had to have the moral turpitude to spend the money to take care of the problem.
And if they don't have the original, see, water is so important, and in this day and age, the resources of this water running through here is so important. And if they don't have the idea that what to do with this water, it's not going to happen. They don't have the political will, and as soon as some white folks come in and say, this is what we can do, X, Y, and Z, their ears will be all open. They'll be hanging on every word. But the water that's coming through this town is so important and it's so valuable, and it's just going to waste. And that's how you got to look at it as a resource.
That's
As an
not potable
untapped
water, so it's not
as an
really a
untapped,
resource.
unexploited resource. You're right, an
It's a
impossible source of
resource.
revenue.
It's a
You're right about
resource.
that, Mike. Good. See, that's something productive that came out of here. It's a good idea. All right. So
That's
listen, thank you
Yeah.
guys for being involved. I'm gonna
uh,
hit you up, Chief. I want to drag you kicking and screaming into my digital age. So we shall see each other. I'll see y'all later.
all right, my brothers. Good
All
seeing you,
right,
brother
peace.
School.
All right, same.
I didn't know you. I didn't know you were Q. I don't mean Q dog, but Q or not.
Conspiracy, a conspiracy, baby, is fact. I'll talk to you later.
Okay, take care, brother.
All right.